Welcome to Ear Biscuits, the podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life for a long time. I'm Link.
And I'm Rhett. We're wearing white.
Creamish.
Yeah. I mean, but...
Boy, if you're only listening to this, you are missing out on a cream fest. Yeah.
Two creamy white guys.
Mine is corduroy cream.
And mine is sweat cream. Sweatshirt cream.
What's all the giggling about, ladies?
I'm sorry, you can't just say cream fest right away.
Yeah,
and
two
have me
creamy
not,
white guys.
not giggle about it.
Yep. That's us.
We have a little bit of like a...
Buy your ticket to the cream
We
fest.
have a little bit of a reversal. No more, you can't say cream fest again.
Okay. Yeah, because we'll never get anywhere.
No.
We have a little bit of a reversal on.
Grow up.
That kind of looks like something that I would wear, and this kind of looks like something you would wear. You want to switch?
Well,
you want to switch shirts?
You'll notice if you look at if you look at my sleeve here.
Oh, okay. This is part of your thing now. Okay. This is real vintage clothing.
I love the look on your face. I was telling Rhett that I'm buying some clothes that are.
I'm just resentful because I can't do it.
Workwear.
That's all. I don't like hearing you talk about it because I can't do it. I'm not allowed to do it because if I go to a thrift store, there's nothing that fits me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get to wear vintage clothes.
Well, even these sleeves are too short. That's why I have it rolled up. But the sleeve underneath the part is rolled up, and some right here. There's like paint stains, and apparently, according to the Instagram people that I follow, the cool thing to do is to wear stuff that has stains all over it.
That appears like you did work in it.
And exactly.
Even though you didn't.
Somebody else did work in it, and I paid way too much money for a shirt that's from the 1950s that somebody else worked in.
So you could go get a lavender latte at Silver Lake.
Exactly.
While wearing it.
It's cream corduroy with green buttons. I feel kind of artistic because there's some paint splatter on it, and it tells a story that I don't know.
That's not yours.
That's not mine.
That's not yours to tell. But ironically,
Exactly.
I do have a work story to tell.
All right.
I should be wearing a stained shirt today because I worked on my car. I did work on my car.
You cosplayed as a mechanic?
Now,
did you wear a onesie because like one of those work suits like I have?
I don't.
You should have called me.
I can't fit in those either. So I can fit in them, but they're really big in the middle when they're long enough because they're big and tall. They're not big or tall. I don't want to get into that, okay?
Yeah. Sorry. I know it's triggering for you.
But you may remember.
I can't believe this, by the way.
Well, I'm building it up a little bit. So you may have noticed over the past couple of months, if you were to get into my car, it might smell like I had just been to a cheese shop and gotten the most amazing cheese that you can imagine.
You may have noticed.
Hold on, that's what I had done in my mind.
You may have noticed that every time I've gotten in your car, I'm like, Gah! What is that stench? It smells like somebody forgot to open
Beautiful cheese.
their ski boot locker, or like
It's an incredibly high smell.
It's like foot fungus smell. It's like there's something growing inside of the entrails of your car, and every time you turn on the air, it just farts it out in my face.
Well, and this is this happens in a lot of cars, but I want to talk about the specific thing that happens in the kind of car that I have. So you know how that happens when like your water settles in your AC, and then there's like a mildew smell that comes out or whatever, and then like you can go on the internet and like watch a video about turn on your air for 20 minutes or whatever, and it'll get it out. So I had, first of all, the first time that this happened, now you've already shamed me about having a Tesla. I have a Model Y Tesla, and which is like the cheap one. Okay, don't get any ideas.
Well,
and
I don't remember shaming you.
Well, you've shamed me about my Tesla a few times.
I just said you had a Tesla.
Oh, you said it in a judgmental tone. You said it in a very judgmental tone. So the way that it works when you have a Tesla is if you need to get it fixed, it all happens on the app. You go into the app and you say what your problem is, and then you pick an appointment time. You never interact with any people. It could be all robots. And
like a robot comes and fixes it at night?
No,
like a shoe elf?
You drive it there and drop it off, and like you don't even have to interact with anybody. You pay through the app. You communicate with people or robots that are doing things on your car via the app. I've never spoken to a real person or in person. But I had to get some other stuff done, like tire rotation or something. I don't know. The interesting thing about, and you can relate to this, about having an electric car is that you forget about maintenance because you don't have to change the oil. So I went the first 2 years of owning this car doing absolutely nothing to it, including not rotating the tires.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. You don't need to do that. But the last time I was like, oh, my tire rotation is way overdue, but I also have this smell in my AC. I'll just get them to take care of it. But this time, like I recently got tires rotated. I don't need anything else done. Now, the other issue with having a Tesla is that, at least in California, everyone has a Tesla. Literally 10 times this year, I've gotten to an intersection. And not just everybody at the four-way stop in my neighborhood has had a Tesla. They've had the exact make and model and color of Tesla that I have. Like every single person drives the exact same car that I drive.
Can I do an aside here, because there is something to this phenomenon of seeing someone driving the exact same car as you that is rather deflating. Noticed.
Have you ever pulled up to? You haven't pulled up to an intersection and seen four of your car.
That's crazy. That only happens with the
Model Y. Everyone has a Model Y.
Christy has a Volkswagen Atlas, and we got the first year of that, which I don't recommend getting the first year of any car because they're still working out kinks. We did that with, Lily got this hybrid Kia, and boy, is it had kinks because it was the first year that they had the hybrid. I got the first year of the Audi e-tron, and I actually have been pretty unscathed, but there's been a number of recalls, even like last week. There was a recall about if you don't change the charging settings and notch them down a little bit, you could burn your house or your car down. Well, crap. So,
which, by the way, put a pin in that. We need to talk about what happened with you and your car after we talk about me and my car.
Okay. Yeah, we'll remember that. So, there's not a lot of my car out there, but there's increasingly more, after a couple of years, and you just feel weird. What is it that you just feel deflated when somebody's got the exact same thing as you? You're not special.
I don't feel deflated if it's just like, if I was driving your car and I saw somebody, I literally give them you give them the little head nod, yeah, we got the same car, we made the same choice.
Yeah, but then I'm profiling who they are, and it's like,
no, that's your problem, man.
It's like a 60-year-old guy who has really thick glasses.
You drive a station wagon.
I didn't know it was a station wagon when I bought it. I thought it was kind of like a car UV.
There's nothing wrong with it. I like your car.
I actually don't like it anymore because now I saw that dude didn't seem cool, and I was like, damn, that dude is driving a station wagon.
Yeah.
And it's just like mine.
I'm having trouble having any sympathy for you in this because one time I got to an intersection and it was two deep Teslas on three sides.
You're not special.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Too deep. Tesla's too deep on three.
That's crazy.
Then Tesla's one deep on four because that was me. And they weren't all Model Ys. But Model Y is also the most common car in the parking lot right out here. Have you noticed that? I mean, did you? So I'm not going to name names, but the Tesla Model Y that is currently in the spot right out there,
Jacobs,
who his position, we had somebody move on to another company.
Yeah,
and then Jacob returned to our company.
Yes.
They both had the same car. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is my car. It's like everybody drives this car. And I've got to say.
If you're like a head of production, you need to have a Y.
I like it. It's like, I still like the car. I plan on keeping it for as long as you can keep it before it becomes a trouble. However, it has this problem.
Yeah, let's back to the stink.
And when it first started happening last time, I YouTubed the problem, and it was like hundreds of videos come up of the Model 3 and the Model Y, because they're basically the same car with a slightly different like roof shape, I think, but the same innards. And so they have the same problem.
Okay.
And everyone is telling you how to fix it, like hundreds of videos on how to fix this.
So when you took it the first time
They
to the
just did it.
robots, you told them to fix it and they did?
Yeah.
It got better.
You check all these issues, and then you add other problems. And I was like, there is a bad smell, mildew smell coming from the AC. And this is a common problem that for some reason, again, I went pretty deep watching multiple videos, happens in the western part of the United States. There's a guy in Indiana who made a video, and he would say, you would think that this was a problem where it was more humid, but it turns out that all the customers who complain about this are on the West Coast. I have no idea. I don't know what that is about the climate. We're drier here. Why would that cause this problem? But basically what happens is your car, when you turn on the AC, when you get in, it smells like a Wisconsin cheese shop like 4 months after the apocalypse.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Do you know what I mean?
Nailed it.
And which is why I started kind of enjoying it and relishing it after a while, because that was my only choice. I was like, until I get this shit fixed, I have to enjoy it. So it would just come on and I would just be like, cheese. And if I really thought about the fact that there was cheese in the AC, it made me like it.
I don't know. Deeply breathing in mildew, I don't care what you rationalize it as, it's not
worse.
good for your brain, probably.
It's different than mildew. Mildew has a depth to it. You know what I'm saying? There's a depth. This is such a high smell. It's like a, you know what I mean? It's just like this singular note.
A high D, is that?
What's the highest note you can make? Yeah, that's it.
That's a high D, I think.
Jenna, can you get higher than that?
Of course.
I don't. It's a little early. I probably.
Oh, that's it.
I think you hit the same note as me.
No,
Just a little higher.
no. She was higher.
Yeah, that's higher.
She's higher.
That's higher.
Okay.
So
all right.
it's that high.
The dogs who are listening.
Like, what's going on? So I see what I need to get to fix it. I have to, because you have to take the panels off of your dash.
I can't. You saw YouTube videos of this and you decided to go forward.
Well,
with
okay.
it?
Well, here's the issue that I didn't finish saying. If you take your car into Tesla, it takes because everyone in California has one.
Mm-hmm.
It takes forever to get things fixed, and so I'd be without my car for days.
And there's no human to yell at.
Right.
You know, they've created this barrier.
And Jesse's out of town, Locke's in town for spring break, just me and the boys. I was like, if at one point I thought maybe I would get one of them to help, but then I got wise about that.
Yeah,
But it was like
that's a
Sunday
disaster.
afternoon, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna take my time, and I'm gonna just enjoy it, and I'm going to like reclaim something about my manhood here. I'm going to try to fix my car. Which the last time I tried to fix my car was my Dodge Intrepid, 1996 Dodge Intrepid.
How'd that go?
I totaled it.
Yep.
I tried
You literally totaled it.
Well, it was probably worth $1,200 when I started, and when I tried to change the water pump, which is very, very difficult. Like you have to take like 2 timing belts off and stuff. And I had that manual, the one that you get at
the Haynes
manual.
Yeah.
This was every video I watched. It would start with the guy saying, "This is an easy one. This is perfect for a DIY. You can do this."
Mm-hmm.
But I had to get a kit from Amazon to like grab your panels and pop them off. Like they make like these, like priors.
Uh-huh.
And I had
what is the problem? Like, what's the ultimate objective?
You need to get to 2 filters that are stacked on top of each other inside the AC system. You need to pop the 2 filters out.
You need to spread them on toast.
And then you need to spray what they call compressor cleaner or air conditioner cleaner, which is a pressurized can of cleaner with a long tube into this thing, and then it will drip down onto the ground, like, let's get all the shit out of there and drop it onto the ground. and then you put new filters in, and then you're good to go.
So you bought the priors and you bought new filters.
And I went to the local auto parts store to get the cleaner.
Okay.
And
you had this mindset of, I'm going to enjoy this.
yeah,
I'm going to feel
I'm going to take pride in this.
like the man that I've been missing in myself.
I'm going to take pride in this. And also,
I hope this doesn't go right.
I also,
Well, I kind of hope it does because I'd like to get in your car again.
I don't fix stuff anymore.
Mm-mm.
I used to fix all kinds of stuff, you know? And I just don't. I used to fix things around the house, and I lost my appetite for it.
Well,
And part of it
yeah.
was, we haven't realized it, but over the past 20 years, 23 years since I've been a married man,
Mhm.
I've kind of steadily worked harder and harder and harder without really ever acknowledging it in terms of like the amount of energy that you have for like the house
Okay, yeah.
has just for me has gone down. So
But we've worked in a way that our hands have gotten softer and our technical acumen for the inner workings of things has degraded.
yeah, and so I was just like, I'm going to try to enjoy this, and it seems like it might be easy, and it was, but I did break something.
Your dash.
Well, I followed all the instructions. I watched multiple videos, but when I pried off the sort of like, it's basically the side of your center console. You have to like take that whole, you have to take the bottom of the dash on the right, the passenger side. You have to take that underpinning off,
Mhm.
and then there's a speaker and a light that have wires going to them, and you have to unclip the wires that are going to them, which you just kind of pop into place. And then you have to pop the center console off, and there's all these little clips where it just kind of pops in. And I just broke like 2 of them pulling it off, and I don't know what I did wrong, but I did super glue them back on.
Super glue.
Hopefully, if I ever have to get it fixed,
You super glued the panel back
they
on?
won't notice.
Or you super glued the
I
clips
super
back on?
glued the clips back on, and then just prayed when I put it back on that they popped into place.
See, I would have thought, you might not need all these clips,
Oh, I don't think you do.
but it might be like bubbling and bowing in
And
certain
I don't know if
places.
they actually attached, because they just kind of, you can't tell what's happening. You can't see in there.
When you're yanking on something, like, to my credit, I think the same thing was going on in my mind. I was like, man, the freezer drawer handle on my fridge is like really wobbly. And YouTube told me you got to slide it to the left and then yank it off because there's no Allen wrench place, there's nothing. You just like slide it to the left and then you pop it off. And I'm like seeing the guy do it, exact same model. I slide it to the left and I yank, no pop. I watched the video again. He slid it to the left and he yanked and it popped. I was like, so I slid it to the right and I yanked and it didn't pop. So I slid it back to the left. And then Christy gets home from some excursion. She comes in the kitchen and I looked at her like, like she's gonna be looking at me with admiration. I'm down here, I'm taking a knee, I'm doing a manly thing.
She's going to be worried is what she's going to be when she looks at you.
And yeah, the look on her face was like, I don't know what you're doing, but stop now. And you know what?
Smart woman.
I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop right now. And we still have a very, very wobbly handle.
But it's still like
it's
on
still
there.
there. Because if I would have yanked, like, I was yanking with like a lot of gusto, but if I would have gone harder and harder, I felt sure. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, you got to feel that pop to know what it takes. And I wasn't man enough to feel the pop, because I was probably doing something wrong. And then how would we have opened the freezer drawer?
And she knew that.
She knew it.
She didn't even know what she knew.
She didn't know what I was doing. Didn't matter.
Well,
So you did it, man.
I did it.
You
Now,
did it.
It's probably the easiest possible thing that you can do on, and I don't think, what else can you repair on an electric car? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no engine. I haven't found it yet.
I think it's in the wheels.
Yeah, I mean, there is an engine, but it's an electric engine, and it's like, you know how it is. It's like, I don't know how it works. But this
It's like a remote
but we need
control
to talk
car.
about you and your car because can I just tell about it from my experience?
Sure.
Okay, so Link and I had to go about an hour and a half, 2 hours away to shoot something very exciting for the show that we're releasing in the fall. And we were going to drive separately from the crew just because of where our houses are at and all that. So I knew, as we've established before, you like to drive,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
However,
I like to drive, and I don't like to be on my phone in a car, and I like for you to be on your phone in the car, and I'm doing it for you just as much for me.
okay. But the night before, because we hadn't discussed who was going to drive,
Right.
I was like, how far is this place away? Because I know one of us is going to drive. This place is like 150 miles away or whatever. So I was like, or maybe 100 miles away. I don't know what it is. I was like, okay, I need to change the setting on my charger on my car to make sure it goes to full range for tomorrow, just so my car's ready to go.
Mhm.
So we can get there and we can get back. But I wasn't even planning on driving. I figured you would say you wanted to drive. I also figured that you might be thinking something similar to me, like maybe like how far is where we're going to go, and then how does my car charge relate to that?
Well, I did map there because I was curious where we were going,
Okay,
and then I was like, oh, that's where we're going, and that was
pretty much it, apparently. Because I get in the car. Well, actually, I'm in the car for a while. We've driven for about an hour, and I just kind of look over at your dash, and I'm like, he only has like 60 miles left? Like, and I was like, you've only got 60 miles.
yeah.
And then it was, the way that you reacted to it was so interesting to me because it was just like, it was like I said nothing. It was like the word 60 could have meant, the number could have been any number.
Right.
And it has no relation to anything. Because what I was saying when you only have 60 miles, what I meant was like we're 100 miles away from home, and also we're not there yet. So like you don't have, you're gonna have to charge your car. So then I was like, well, and then you were like, yeah, I charged it last night. Like,
I charged it all night.
you didn't charge it enough.
I did. Because of the recall on my car, I had to set my charger to 50%, and then the manual on the car said, when I first got it, only charge to 80% capacity. So,
Except for like one, like you can go to like 90 or 100 if you're about to take a long trip. It's just you're not supposed to do that on a regular basis.
right, I've never changed it. Once I set it at 80 right when I got it, I've never changed it. And then when I changed the charging rate to 50%, I was like, well, I don't want my house to burn down. Christy would be upset if that happened. Because she's like,
Yep.
we got the recall, and she was like, you need to figure out what to do to this. And then I was like, no. And
But-
then 5 days later, she was like, did you?
But
And I
when you
hadn't.
got in the car that
I
morning, it appeared to me
I hadn't-
you didn't look at how
No.
many miles there were and how far we had to go.
I just kind of felt like
You felt.
that I could get there and get back. And so then when you pointed out how many, the reason why I had a non-reaction is because I was thinking a lot. And you know, my face tends to go flaccid when I'm thinking a lot. The mouth opens a little. I kind of go to another far off place where my thoughts are, and I like try to gather them. It's like picking berries on like a mountainside. It's like, well, they're not on this mountainside anymore. I'm gonna hike over to this mountainside and pick a little thought berries, and I'll bring them back. And in the meantime, the shell of my body is still here driving in a flaccid position.
But when you came back with the berries, I didn't. It didn't seem like you had any berries.
Well, yes, I did. Yes, I did. What I told you, if I remember correctly, is, well, I've never.
Yeah, you said I've never charged my car outside of my house, and I'm like, and that was when I've
had this car for like what, 5 years?
Yeah, and that's when I said, sometimes things happen that just illustrate how different we are. When I got in my car, because it was an EV, I've never had an EV before, I literally drove it off the lot, and I didn't drive it home. I drove it to a supercharger to see how it works. Because I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna charge this thing in my house, but like, I wanna know how it works. And I just drove and I was like, oh, okay, I plugged it in for like 10 minutes, sat down, and was like, this is interesting. Now I know how that works. That's taken care of.
Yeah.
You've never charged it in the whole 5 years that you've had it.
Never had a need.
But we had a need. And you could have looked at your car and known that we were gonna have a need.
But it didn't matter, Rhett, because at that point I was like, you know what? I can just search for a charger.
It did matter, as I will continue to explain.
All I did was I said we can. So
Okay.
we got to the location. I had like maybe 35 miles of range,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know, when we're done filming, if we survive, then I will search for a you know like a supercharger, and we can go there. Matter of fact, we could probably eat lunch while we're doing it. Cause look, and then I looked up. There's one at this outlet mall center. We can go to the outlets.
Can I tell you my experience when that happened?
Sure.
So before I tell you my experience, I will say that, if you have an adequate charge, like you don't even have to stop. Like you could have gotten there and gotten back, and you wouldn't even have to worry about finding a charge.
Yeah, I concede that.
And also, like, I didn't know, like, the Tesla infrastructure for charging is like
Everywhere.
crazy, awesome.
But for the Audi, it's different. And
It's
that's
very
why
different,
I've
and
been too intimidated to try to find it.
Well, okay. So we pull up to these outlet malls, and at this point, I'm just thinking about how entertained I am about watching you work. And so he gets out of the car and he goes to the charger, and he's like looking at it, and he's like obviously never seen it before.
Well, there's 3 different nozzles.
It's like a zoologist finding a new snake that he's never seen before. He's like, look at the mouth on that one. And then he just puts it back. And he's like, I gotta go to that other stall. And so I'm like, okay. So we go to the other stall, and then he plugs it in. And
The nozzle that I needed was hooked up to a car that was already parked there, and there was a man sleeping in it.
Right, because they had different nozzles.
Mm-hmm. So I had to move the car
and
around.
by the way, there's only 2.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tesla was like 12 different options.
Yeah.
12 stalls, but there's 2 stalls. So what if there's 2 guys sleeping?
We would have had to wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I could have asked him to help me when he woke up because you were of no help. You were on your phone.
I felt like
Were you journaling this story?
No, I was just thinking, I don't need to talk to him about how to do this. This is how you learn, by doing, And so then he goes and he hooks it up to his car, and then he like looks at the car, and then he goes to the machine, and he's like looking at the machine, he's like adjusting his glasses, and then he comes back to the thing, and he's like, it's not charging. He's never done it before. This is all new. And then he goes back to the thing, and then he opens up his wallet, and he's like, and then he's looking at his wallet, and then he comes back to the car, he's like, I lost my credit card.
I had it when we were on the other side.
And then
I lost it.
And then he goes back, and he's like, I just put it in the wrong slot. And then he gets it, and then it starts charging, and then he's like, let's go walk around this outlet mall.
So, well, hold on.
And by the
you
way,
just glossed over the success.
We had eaten lunch already.
It had started charging. That is success.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Man succeed at charging car.
This experience is the kind, like, the first time I ever drove an EV was in Holland, right? It was that day that we each rented cars outside of Amsterdam
to go to a castle.
and I was like, let's rent an EV to see how it works or whatever. And like,
I didn't rent an EV. You did.
you have owned one for 5 years. The point I'm making is that the experience of watching you interact with your EV was reminiscent of me.
Yes,
The first time I ever interacted with an EV, and
I
you've
get
had it
that.
for 5 years.
I get it. Well, at the outlet mall parking lot,
It
I
was
will
great.
point out that the only cars in the parking lot were mine and the guy who was sleeping. Like two
Yeah.
people charging. No other cars in the lot.
What was the name of this place?
I don't know.
The name of the outlets.
I don't know. Just like sad post-apocalyptic outlets is what it should have been called.
This place had, man, it was almost like a poster child just for the death of retail in America.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like, half of the shops completely shut down.
It was all outdoors.
They put 2 churches in there. Like what they've done is there's this old outlet mall,
Yeah.
and like 2 churches are like, well, I mean, we might as well. So there's like 2 competing churches in there.
and a Hot Topic surplus kind of in the middle.
And then
A Blizzard place. Dairy Queen. There was a Dairy Queen.
there's a couple of mythical beasts there.
They were employees of the
One at the Dairy Queen and one
Dairy
at the,
Queen. O'Neill Surf Shop.
yeah. They're really holding it down there.
We went in there and I was like, this is a happening place. And they were like, well, you know, around the holidays, people show up.
The ATM at this place just had a giant hole in the middle of it. Like someone had come to the ATM
Right.
and kicked it.
Yeah.
Like Chuck Norris had come to the ATM and just kicked a giant hole right where you would like put your card in, and they just left it.
Yeah. I think that might have been the beginning of the end for the outlet mall. Remember that time Chuck Norris came, kicked in the ATM, and then no one showed up anymore?
But then we go back
To the car.
and based on, you
Wait.
know,
We were willing to be there for 20 minutes, if that.
yeah.
So it went from a 36% charge to like a
We had
66%.
an adequate charge to get home.
Yeah.
At least I thought that we definitely did. Until
We definitely did.
until we get back on the highway, and then I've noticed this is just another observation is that you like to have the lady on the GPS talk to you, right? Because if you don't have her on, sometimes you don't follow the directions.
Yeah, I'm not constantly looking at the map.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the road. I'm safe.
and
I'm a man safe drive. Look at road.
but you had turned the lady off, and when the lady didn't tell you to get off on a certain road, you didn't. And then you realized that you hadn't, and it was one of those situations where, oh crap, like
And I was also in the carpool lane, which at this point like had bollards
Yeah.
on that. Like you can't just like illegally get out of the carpool lane. You're like trapped in this totally separate freeway existence that you may never get out of.
Yeah. When we left the outlet mall, I saw that it said 1 hour and 41 minutes to get back home. And I was kind of thinking about when I was going to get home because we had a friend coming over for dinner.
Yeah.
And when you missed that turn, it went to 1 hour and 56 minutes. And then when you continued in the HOV lane, not able to get over and past the next exit that we needed to get over, it went to 2 hours and 1 minute. And then you finally found the road that you were supposed to take, and you took the wrong one. And then it went to
The
2
lady-
hours and 15 minutes.
The lady was speaking, but she wasn't being clear.
And we were like, we went home I know we got home after y'all. There's no way we didn't get home after y'all, because I don't know how long you stayed after we left, but not much longer, I don't think.
No, not much longer. We didn't. We were back by like 5:15 maybe.
Yeah, we rolled up to my house at 6 p.m.
Oh boy.
You know what? And
We were in a big van.
I was Yeah, but did you see the outlets?
We drove by them and we're like, hey, that's probably where they are right now.
Yeah, we were.
We were, and
Yeah, we made it back.
I do appreciate the fact that you kept your cool. Like I'll be totally honest.
If
If,
it was
the
for
shoe were on the other foot, I would have been seething.
Oh yeah.
I would have been so frustrated because I would have known that I never would have done that, and it's why I should have driven.
Right.
I should have driven.
Yep.
Because you know, I usually have my shit together. It was it had been an extreme day.
It was.
I mean, come on now.
It was a very extreme.
We can't talk about what happened, but it may be one of the most extreme days of our lives. One of the most extreme experiences.
It was definitely the most extreme moment of my life thus far.
Yeah. So did you notice that afterward, I couldn't really contribute to a conversation? Remember when we were talking to Ben and you were saying something and he was saying something, and then I said something, and then Ben said, I just said that.
Yeah.
I think that my brain was still really discombobulated. I'm just gonna say that. I wasn't at the top of my game.
You were at the top of your game.
And so I really appreciate the fact that you found the silver lining, which is to totally just let me have it on this podcast.
Well,
like you had a good attitude, and I appreciate that.
but I do think
Because I was pretty mad at myself.
okay.
And because you didn't get mad, then I allowed myself to just say, okay, this is where we're at, and this is what we're doing. And once I'd taken those 3 wrong turns, you started looking at the range. And at that point, I was convinced we were going to have to stop again.
Well, I was 100% convinced
and
because I
charge again.
and it said we were 60 miles from home and that you had like 55 miles of range. But then it's not really that accurate. So
well, I put the car in eco mode after that. And then every time we went downhill, even like we were going on this toll road, even on like a freeway, but it had this downhill part, I started like engaging the regenerative braking a lot. I was like desperate to not have to charge again.
Well, you had 6 miles of range when you dropped me off at my house.
Yeah, I had 3 miles when I got to my house. Like literally 3 miles of range. Like I thought I was going to have to get out in between my house and your house and walk home because I had to go uphill a little bit.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
I was running through stop signs.
I mean, one application is not, I mean, I don't, not that you're necessarily going to do this exact same thing again, but I just feel like, I feel like I can also drive sometimes, like, but I could.
But now I'm never going to do that
I know,
again.
but I could also drive because sometimes I like to drive. We don't need to be on our phones, either one of us, really. I mean, I really wasn't on my phone.
Yeah.
While we were driving,
Well,
so that can't be the only reason.
I just feel like I can get places faster.
You legitimately think that?
I thought that, yeah. I thought that. Like I've noticed a lot. Like when I ride with you into work, I think it takes 5 minutes longer, maybe 6.
No, not a chance.
Like you don't use the carpool lane. Like you don't aggressively get over into that carpool lane. You just kind of stay over.
That's not really true though. Maybe 2 to 3. You might get 2 to 3 minutes on me, but here's the thing: who cares? 2 to 3 minutes. 2 to 3 minutes.
Well, yeah, I guess I care.
But like I'm never like I'm when it comes
Listen,
to when it comes to like
I don't have a hill to stand on.
being like I might be late to work. I was late to work this morning, right? When we've got like a sort of a flexible start time on something, but when we need to be somewhere at a certain time, I'm never late. Like I'm very rarely late. Jenna can attest to that.
I have,
right?
I just have opinions, and it's better to like Jenna. You know this. I mean, you were driving that van the other day, and I was in the passenger seat, and I just couldn't not tell you to get into that. I was like, you got to get into that lane. You got to get in that HOV lane.
What did I say?
It was very powerful what you said. Just because it was something, just because I don't remember it doesn't mean that it didn't have an impact on me. But it was something about like, I don't need a side.
Yeah, I don't need a side
passenger
seat driver.
a side seat driver.
And you said, yeah, Christy says that to me sometimes too.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we've got a pattern.
But I think I've got to the bottom
Which
of
is
it.
why, Christy, I always drive with Christy. Because it's always a fight. But after that, I was quiet.
You were.
And then the next time I was riding in the van, I didn't say a peep.
You didn't, and I took a leisurely route.
But it was hard for me.
Yeah, I took a leisurely route.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
And it was tough. It was a tough experience for me. Because I was constantly just keeping my mouth shut.
But let's think about
it's
this.
so
for a
hard.
second. Let's think about this for a second. We got to the bottom of this. You like to drive because you think that you get to places more efficiently, right?
Okay, yes.
But whatever.
Except for the last time.
That's not the only time that's happened. This is the most extreme example. But here's the
thing.
Don't
bring up the almost hitting pedestrians either, because
what I'm saying is that
that's not pertinent.
My patience that I exercised in that moment,
yes,
that added about an hour to our trip home.
Yeah.
Okay? I feel like I've gained at least an hour of slight 2 to 3 minute not being super aggressive about getting in the carpool lane so that I can drive if we need to go across town or something like that.
Okay. All right. Yes. I agree.
And I also don't agree that if we're like going across town to the west side, I don't think that I'm taking any longer than you would take. I think when it comes to getting to work, I'm just like, when do I need to be at work? Okay, I could aggressively get over here. Is it really worth it? Like, how is it gonna really alter my experience? I might get in a wreck trying to be aggressive. I'll just go, you know what, I'll just take it a little bit easy. Maybe you should just take it a little bit easy.
I have nothing, I can't, I just have to accept it. I just have to accept it. I mean, I'm not that critical of your driving, And
I'm not that critical of yours.
No, I'm just saying, of all the people that I could ride with, I'm most willing to ride with you of all the people. No offense, Jenna.
No, it's okay.
Of all the people that I could ride with, like I can ride with you. But there's some people that I'm related to that this conversation I would have to fight. I'd have to put my foot down. I'd have to say, "Come on, just let me do it."
Well,
Christy hates driving, so it kind of works out for us.
Me and Jesse would prefer not to drive, So it's like, it's not really a conversation with us. But I'm saying there are times when I'm like, well, I kind of like to drive, but
I do like to drive.
Well, I know that,
but I don't like to take longer. And that was a miserable fail. And now we're through it. Now we're through it.
And I like to drive as well. I think maybe it's what I've never said.
Oh, you like to drive?
It's just you always request to drive, and so I'm like, okay, well, I guess. But I just feel like now I've gained a little. Now I should be able to drive a little bit.
I've already said yes to that.
Great.
But those outlets,
boy,
what a sad, sad place.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Really puts it in perspective.
The Mythical Cookbook is out everywhere you can buy books, including mythicalcookbook.com, and you can get a signed copy. It might be signed by the two of us. It might be signed by just Josh. It might be signed by all three of us, and those are available at mythical.com.
Well, it's not. You can order a specific one, so. Whoever you want to have it signed, that's the one you can order. Limited quantities, mythical.com. Get it. Ear Biscuits is supported by Butcher Box.
I like meat and I like to grill it. I like to braise it. I like to roast it.
Okay.
I like to make meat happen in lots of different ways.
Do you like boxes?
Yeah, I love boxes.
Okay, there you go. The meat is all high quality, humanely raised from Butcher Box with no antibiotics or added hormones. So the beef is 100% grass-fed, the seafood is wildly caught, And the chicken is free range, wildly caught. I like that.
Each butcher box also comes with curated tips and recipes based on the box you receive, making what's for dinner one less thing to think about and a few less trips to the grocery store.
And where else can you get free protein for a whole year? Literally nowhere else unless you won some meat competition.
That's true.
Which I'm in the running.
Eat better this year with the best meat and seafood on the planet delivered to your door. ButcherBox is offering your choice of a weeknight meal essential, 3 pounds of chicken thighs, 2 pounds of ground beef, or 1 pound of premium steak tips for free in every order for a whole year.
Plus, get $20 off your first order. Sign up today at butcherbox.com/ear and use code EAR to choose your free offer and get $20 off.
Ear Biscuits is supported by Rosetta Stone.
You know, learning a new language can be important if you want to speak to someone who only speaks another language.
Yes, Link, that is a wise thing.
Yes.
In comes Rosetta Stone, the most trusted language learning program, available on desktop or as an app that truly immerses you in the language you want to learn.
They've used trusted experts for 30 years with millions of users and 25 languages offered, some of which include Spanish, Italian, German, Korean, Chinese, Japanese, and Polish.
It immerses you in many ways and has an intuitive process, so you pick up a language naturally, first with words, then phrases, then sentences.
Rosetta Stone's built-in true accent feature gives you feedback on your pronunciation. It's like having a personal trainer for your accent.
And it's an amazing value. A lifetime membership has all 25 languages for all language needs in your life. That's lifetime access to all 25 language courses Rosetta Stone offers for 50% off, a steal.
Don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. For a very limited time, you can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off.
Visit rosettastone.com/ear. That's 50% off unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/ear today.
Now what do you want to talk about? You know, one of the things that you were talking about how like you had the weekend to fix your car. And it's like, you know, that's not the type of thing that I want to do on my weekend. One of the things that I've been noticing lately is that I am becoming more of a make plans kind of person. I think this has been happening I think it's a post-pandemic thing for me. Like, what am I gonna do this weekend? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do this night? And what am I gonna do? If like, I look forward to the weekends of having things to do, and as opposed to looking forward to the weekend and not having anything to do. And I think that's a shift for me. I don't know exactly what's behind it, but like, even next week is Lando spring break. So it's not just the weekend, we got the whole week. And for like months now, I've been like, what are we gonna do for spring break? We can go snowboarding, we can do this, we can do that. And it, you know, since it's just Lando and not any of the other kids anymore, they didn't really want to get, we'd already done the skiing thing and they didn't want to do that again. And so I talked, like Christy and Lando, their default was like, well, we can just chill out at home. We can like have a good, like relaxing break. We've done a lot of stuff, you know. Went to New Zealand. That was a big trip at the end of the year. I'm still recovering from that. I'm like, what? That was a whole calendar year ago. So I talked them into going to Yosemite National Park, which we're going to this weekend. But I knew if I planned like something ambitious, like many days, that it would bite me in the butt. So I was like, you know what? We're just gonna go for a couple of days. And we're gonna stay, like it's so hard to get camping reservations. And I was like, they might turn on me if I take them camping. It gets cold at night in March in Yosemite. So I was like, the historic Ahwahnee Hotel is there. And I was able to get like a room for us for 2 nights. So like a drive day, see some stuff. The whole next day we can see stuff, and then the whole next, we can check out, but then see stuff all day and then get back that night. It's like a 5.5 hour drive from here to Yosemite. So I was like, just 2 nights, we'll just do that. And then we'll get back. And then once we get back, you can do whatever. And that was the plan. And then as things have gotten closer, I'm like, well, I kept looking at that count. I was like, I got the rest of the week. Come on, let's go somewhere else. Let's do something else. And they're like, no, I don't want to do anything else. And I'm like, well, I kind of want to do something else. Maybe I'll go snowboarding. So I think I'm going to go snowboarding for Orlando spring break by myself. And so I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do. You know, I texted our friend Eric, who lives up in Park City. I'm like asking him, like, how's the snow and everything? But so I haven't booked it yet. But I've got this. I'm observing this about myself. It's like anti-homebody, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. I think maybe it's a middle-aged thing. Like I have a sense that my life is running out, and I have the time and the means. I might as well go do stuff. But it's different. I used to not be like. There's a certain personality type that's always doing stuff, always making plans. There's like an Enneagram number associated with it. But it's not a 1, which is what I am.
It's a 7, I think. And I think a 7 is first of all, Enneagram's not a scientific thing. It's just like a whatever, but
right.
There are always
personality profile.
Two other numbers that you're like related to. And I think a 1 is related to a 7.
It's so like they say in health, you go there, which is like a more adventurous type
You
thing.
go into a 7 in health? Or
I think so,
It's
yeah.
weird because sometimes they're like, you go to a 7 in stress.
Oh.
Or you like, again, Enneagram can be a helpful tool, but.
It's 7. So
Oh, to go in health.
health.
Okay, so maybe this means I'm healthy.
Yeah, good, yeah. I didn't want to say anything out of school, even though I'm not prescribing the Enneagram to anyone.
When you get a weekend, when the weekend's approaching, how do you approach the approaching weekend? Let's start there, because I'm curious how you think about it.
Jesse is the party planner, like activities planner person in our relationship.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of rely on her to do that.
And she plans things that are more socially oriented than activity oriented, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We can have these people over, or we can hang out with these people. We need to catch up with these people, or let's plan a party. Hey, we haven't had a game night, that type of stuff, where it's like the people-oriented thing.
Mostly what I do, like what I've been doing lately, is if I can get like Shepard to go with me on a hike, I'll do that. Or maybe me and Jesse will go. But a lot of times just I'll hike up to the top of a mountain near my house, or I'll by myself.
And do you plan this days in advance?
No. It's very much just like that night before I'm going to bed, I'm like, you know what, let me look at the weather. I could probably hike up to the top of the mountain.
Like, I haven't had a weekend where I've woken up and just not known what I wanted to do weeks in advance for maybe a year. And this is a new thing. It's interesting. And Christy the reason why I've noticed it because Christy started noticing it. That like, she'd be like, you're making too many plans. Like, I just don't have the appetite to do this much stuff. And like Lando says the same thing about his spring break. This is his spring break. He don't want to do whatever I want to do, So it's, yeah, maybe I'm changing.
I mean, I would like to make more plans. I mean, there are definitely times when I get to the weekend and I'm like, I wish I had thought about this a little bit earlier, and then maybe I would have been able to tell Shepard that he needs to be up at this time and we're going to go do this particular thing. Because we have access to so many incredible things in this area. We're in close proximity to so many experiences, whether it's nature experiences or whether it's cultural experiences. And like I told you that time that Jesse was like, TJ Maxx is doing a live show for the first time ever at this Vulture Fest or whatever, and we can go right now, and we did. Again, that was her looking at that. Like, it's mostly just because I really enjoy it, and I think that if she were to begin making a lot of plans to do things, I would be very much for it. It's just that's not my personality is not oriented around like even when we talk about like like our college trip or whatever. It's like you are very motivated to be like, let's figure out where we're going and exactly what we're doing. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to have very many strong opinions about this anyway. So, and I know you are going to have strong opinions about it and you're motivated to do it. And I'm just like,
well, it's interesting that Harm, one of our college buddies who goes on the trip, he's also an Enneagram 1, and he texted in a thread. He was just like, let's go ahead and plan this trip because I need a trip to look forward to. And I was like, I totally relate to that. I think that's a big part of it for me is that like I pull up the calendar all the time and I'm always looking for slots. And I'm like, what can I put here? And oh, can it be overnight? Because when something gets to be overnight, then I get really excited about it because then I can really look forward to it. It's this thing of like, I gotta have something else to look forward to. I need the next thing to anticipate is a big driver for me. And that's why things start filling up because then I think about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm excited about this. Because, we're blessed with most of everything we do is something that we can be happy to be doing. But even though that's the case, I'm still looking for, but what's that next thing that I can experience? And it's a very strong driver for me.
well, it's funny because I was talking to my therapist about this last night. We talked about a couple of episodes ago. I don't know. My recognition around my anxiety, and it's funny whenever you're like, if you're in therapy, you might notice this that like when you start saying things like, I think I'm really beginning to kind of understand the level of anxiety that I operate under. And then your therapist, because they don't like to, if they're a good therapist, they like to gently lead you in directions versus like tell you things. But he was just like, this is incredible. It's just like,
Yeah.
I've kind of been waiting for this moment or whatever for you to sort of acknowledge this. But the thing I told him last night is like, okay, so this year has been characterized by I've always known that I've had anxiety around certain things. Like, yes, I have health anxiety that can get really bad sometimes. It's actually okay right now, but it can get bad. Travel anxiety, So I have these like instigators that will cause anxiety. But then there's a whole lot of things, like the thing that we did last week that I said was the most intense moment of my life. It's like I actually legitimately wasn't anxious about that at any point, other than like just a normal reaction that you should have right before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like talking to him about that. Well, that's kind of an aside. But what I talked about last time was my anxiety compels me to do work, right? Because that's I've just been an anxious person that is highly productive.
Yeah.
Because that is how I deal with my anxiety. Because a lot of my anxiety, sort of generalized anxiety around the things that we're trying to do professionally, right? And so, you talk about weekends, like, I spent a lot of time preparing for my deconstruction update episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to exaggerate, but I probably spent 20 hours over the course of like the end of last year and the beginning of this year preparing for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that might be like, I'm going to sit down with this outline and I'm going to like try to tease out this thought. I'm going to bring this book up and I'm going to see like what parts of it I want to highlight, whatever. And I don't prepare for anything on our podcast as much as I do for that episode because, as we talked about, like that episode ends up getting used and the things that I say get put in books and stuff like that. And I like to be very careful about the things that I say, right? But a weekend would roll around and I would think about that. We got that episode coming up and I'm anxious about it. Like, and so I'm going to take the next 3 hours to like work on it. Right. So the thing I was telling my therapist was like, now that I've gotten to this place where I realize my anxiety, but I'm trying to, when I realize that I'm being anxious about something, instead of treating it with doing something, I'm trying to just like acknowledge it and like lean into it, kind of examine it and not do something to treat it. It's I'm in a very weird space right now in terms of, you talk about my weekends, like a lot of my weekends I would work.
Is that why you've been hiking more? What have you been doing?
No, I mean,
have you been deciding not to work?
Yeah, I have been like, okay, I'm not going to like sit down and write.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit down and write. It's interesting because right now I'm in this place where, this is what I was telling him last night. I was like, making a decision to not work is making me a little bit anxious.
Right.
Because I'm like, who's going to do it?
Yeah. Not me, because I'm going to be snowboarding.
and so like I'm trying to figure out what that, I don't know. That's where I'm at. I'm trying to get to a place where it's like I'm not doing something to treat my anxiety. So now I'm going to be doing like I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what it means.
Yeah.
But I think it means that I need to be one of the ways to treat that would be to be planning something that doesn't give you the option to work.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I mean, I think for me, like if your coping is leaning in and like, oh well, I'll take care of it. That'll alleviate it. And yeah, my instinct is to escape. Like that's why like sometimes napping is a coping mechanism for me. Maybe sometimes planning things is like an avoidance technique. But I don't think that's that's probably at play. But at the same time, I think there is a stage of life thing that's like, oh, I have time, I can do something to look forward to. And then if I do so much stuff that I like wear myself out, then I actually make plans like, oh, I've got this weekend, I don't have anything. And this past weekend, I didn't make plans to do anything. But then my plans were, oh, I'm gonna clean out the garage in this way, and I'm gonna take care of this laundry list of things that have been nagging me around the house and that I've been wanting to do. And I gotta, so I did a couple of those things, and I was like, Christy, whatever you want to do, Lando, whatever you want to do, I'm up for it. And so we did a few like low key things, but it's like that became more rewarding because I'd worn myself out. But yeah, you should plan some more stuff.
Yeah, I just have to actually do it. I mean, I have been thinking about, and Jesse has been encouraging me to do this too, because you know the kind of stuff I like to talk about, and stuff I like to think about. And she was like, "You really need to find somebody that you can talk about these things with."
And golf at the same time. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah. You want to join a philosophy club?
I really don't.
Then what's the application?
Just, I know people and have acquaintances that I know would be down to talk about the kinds of stuff that I like to just sit around and talk about and think about. But it kind of takes like, I don't know, there's this like, there's some like momentum that you have to get in order to make it happen. I definitely don't. I mean, I also would like to do things. I'm not like in a place right now where I'm like, okay, I have to. Yeah, a lot of times I'll be doing something and be thinking about, I'd rather just be sitting someplace quiet, eating something good, or just like watching something. Like I mean, that does happen to me. So like, I'm not always like if I go to a concert, like I'm like, this is great. I don't need another one of these for couple months,
But the main reason that, I mean, you're not very practiced at initiating an invitation. Like, hey, I'm doing this, you want to do this? Like, I think that's what Jesse's saying. Like, you could do that. You could reach out to somebody and then you could have a coffee and you could talk about all your fears related to AI that you've promised to not talk about on the podcast anymore, as an example. So how much of it do you think is like, you're just not practiced at taking that initiative of an invitation? And is there perceived risk involved? And is it more of like, my main practice is doing things that aren't work related that are still alone, Is it a combination of both?
Well, when we were talking about this the other day, like I do realize that a lot of times, just like Jesse's like, hey, do you want to do something? Do you want to do this or do that? And I'm just kind of like, I want to be with you, but I kind of just want it to be at home. It does end up filling a big thing. So I do think part of it.
And if that's rejuvenating, that's nothing to.
I think part of it is just. I think the thing that I am feeling is less like stimulation. Well, like activity-related stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
But I am interested in mental stimulation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think that I have been. I mean, it's funny you talk about like philosophy club. It's just like I know I could probably find some like people who want to sit around and like. First of all, I don't like to drink. People like to like drink beer and whiskey and like talk about things. It's like I don't like drinking alcohol.
Well, you can drink at old duels.
Yeah, and I don't want to be that guy. But like,
nothing wrong with that.
No, or like dudes that like to sit around and like drink whiskey and smoke cigars. Two things that I actively don't want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's I don't know. I'm figuring it out.
Maybe it's children then.
Okay.
I
want to talk about philosophy
underage
with children.
Philosophy club. You could volunteer. I don't know. Okay, think about it.
But maybe when you come up with these things that you're going to do, just you can be like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. You want to go do this with me?" And you can make those plans for me.
Okay. Yeah, I will. I did that last night. Last night I texted you. I was like, all right, so Friday or Saturday, which night works?
And I was like, either.
Yep. And hopefully we'll make that work.
Yeah. See? Yeah, I'm down.
Between me and Jesse, we hold your planner. Okay.
Which I'm open to. I am definitely open to that because I'm not good at taking that initiative. So I accept someone else doing it.
I feel like this is this kind of I don't know if this is a tit for tat. You're going to drive more, and I'm going to sign you up for an underage philosophy class. Okay. All right. We accomplished a lot today.
Yeah, we did.
I feel
we made
like
progress.
Yeah, I know you have a wreck, so let them have it.
Oh yeah. My friend Jaden in Australia sent me this musician because he was like, "You're gonna love this album," and he was right. This guy is it's an artist, Jeffrey Martin, and his 2023 album, "Thank God We Left the Garden," is just like a master class in songwriting. Highly recommend it. I don't really know much about this guy. I don't know his like background or where he's coming from with the things that he's talking about, but like he is a poet. Is there a spiritual element to this? Is it a biblical garden? Yeah, it is. So it's definitely like I would say very much like spiritually informed. Obviously this guy's got some perspective on Christianity. either his background or the community he comes from or whatever.
Oh yeah, you played the red station wagon for me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing.
The whole album is great, and it's super simple, and it's just like him and a guitar, and there's very little other instrumentation, and like I don't think any harmonies, but his voice is just
Yeah, he's good.
great. And I mean, lyrically, it's my favorite album that I've listened to in a very, very long time. So Jeffrey Martin, Thank God We Left the Garden. Check it out.
All right, I might want to visit the garden in a couple of weeks. I don't know. It's just like maybe go to a garden,
Madison Square Garden?
any garden.
If you
I
say
don't know.
the garden, that's usually what you're talking about.
I don't know. Just some garden.
I love I love botanical gardens. That's
Okay.
something I realized about myself in the
All
past
right.
decade. So
Go with Christy.
you don't like them.
Well, I'll probably be snowboarding, and Christy loves, she loves gardens.
She does, yeah.
Yeah. All right, you can do that. There you go.
I'll be hanging out with your wife in the
I
garden.
made plans for both of y'all just now. And my plans for you are to use hashtag earbiscuits to talk to us. You can also leave us a voicemail, 1-888-EARPOD1.
Hey, Rhett and Link. This is Olivia from Missouri, and I was just listening to your famous last words episode of Ear Biscuit, and I was thinking that your guys' famous last words should be, and you know what time it is, because that would just be iconic, and you guys would know what time it is. Time to go. Love you guys.